This way? Nope. This way? Yep. We're live. Welcome to the show, guys. We're going to be talking about stuff you never hear in the mainstream media, as usual, and bringing you some stuff that you should know, but you probably don't. We're also going to be having Mike Martins join us shortly. Stefanos, we've been talking about a bunch of stuff this week. And one thing I want to get into is municipalities, how they try to pull the wool over people's eyes because people just don't know what's what. And they think, the government, whatever they do must be the right thing.
Yeah, the right wrong thing as usual. They can't get anything right. So yeah.
Legal non-conforming with your house, your apartment building, your business. What the hell does that mean?
Legal non-conforming is something, let's say you got an old house and you want to do nothing with it, and the municipality suddenly comes up to you and says, hey, your steps aren't right, or your deck isn't right, or something stupid, and you got to bring it into compliance, and they'll put an order on you or something. Whenever you get an order from a municipality put on you, make absolutely 100% sure that you appeal that order immediately. Because the big thing here is, if you don't, then you're screwed. But if you do, you'll beat a municipality because, one, bylaws are not retroactive. Two, if your house is whatever you want to do was there, it's all original part of the house, guess what? Municipality can't do anything. They can't even order you to do anything because you are legal non-conforming, because that bylaw was created after, and bylaws are not retroactive. So they can't do anything about it.
Okay, so how about if everything in your house was built under the building code? It was inspected. At the time, it passed all those regulations, obviously.
Yeah, well, again, it's still legal non-conforming. Your house could have never had an inspection ever, and they didn't do anything because, let's say, the Planning Act wasn't the Building Code Act. Sorry, not the Planning Act. The Building Code Act wasn't created at that time. Again, too bad. And then here's the key. Here's the real key kicker. So let's say you built a house without a permit or anything. You built a house. Municipality didn't say anything. Nobody said anything to you. And 2 years go by. Or fuck 2 years. Let's say a year goes by. You are now have just become legal non-conforming because the municipality is statute barred from doing anything to you if they didn't act within a year of its completion. So that's the Pickles case. It's a very interesting case, but that's what happens. They're statute barred. They can't go after you. You don't have to do shit. Battle them in court and then go after them for, well, you'll get costs awarded, but then sue them for being negligent because they'll know this kind of stuff. They know it and they do it anyways because people don't want to fight it.
So, what is like a simple say you got an apartment building and they make you say your railing's 2 inches lower than what's in the standard code, and we want you to change these railings to bring you up to code.
Well, if it was before that bylaw came out, or if it was a year has passed, tough beans for the municipality. They can go pound salt because that they're statute barred. And you're legal non-conforming, especially if it was original.
Now, does that apply in all the provinces across Canada, or is it just the Ontario thing?
It's an Ontario thing. I know every municipality, because this is a provincial thing. So municipalities are a creature of the province, so they are all under the province, and that's in Ontario governed by the Ontario Municipal Act.
So how would someone find out? Like, is there a good lawyer that would know these kind of things, or a shitty lawyer, or who do you ask to get the truth or the lowdown per se?
Well, it's not who do you ask. Just research your lawyers. Make sure they operate in this area of law. If you get a lawyer that's telling you no, you got to comply, you automatically know that they're a shit lawyer, and you shouldn't go near them. Or maybe they've represented the municipality in the past, or currently on a retainer, which would be a conflict of interest either way. So run away from them. They're a bad lawyer instantly.
All right. If we're all wearing hats tonight, I'm going to wear one too. Got my Red Bull autographed racing hat.
God damn, I got my Red Bull stuff when I used to work with them somewhere. Freaking in Niagara Falls. Damn.
They used to. I got this when I was in Windsor, and they're racing across the Detroit River.
Did you win? Play, show? What was it?
Number 84, I think he came in fourth. He was still new on the circuit, Canadian boy.
Nice. Fourth ain't bad for being new, that's for sure.
Mike, welcome to the lounge. What are you drinking tonight?
You know what? I had some ice cream upstairs, some Oreo ice cream. No, hold on. Then I found this eggnog booze. It's eggnog booze, like it's like already pre-mixed from the liquor store. I put that eggnog booze that I found in the fridge in the ice cream and mixed it up. Oh boy, did it ever make a good ice cream.
Okay, welcome to the lounge. So you beat us to it then.
Shem brought up a good thing here, and it's on the screen. Might as well all wear sunglasses. The only reason why I wore these sunglasses is because I thought Mike was going to have them on. Damn.
No, I got glasses here. Look. But then I got to put this on backwards.
There you go. Perfect. You happy as Shem? Jesus, I don't think any other one of our guests get this kind of treatment. My goodness.
Woo!
I don't know. I'm not wearing a hat indoors. My parents raised me better than that.
Oh, all right.
Anyways, Stefanos, you're getting into municipalities and how great they are.
Yeah, and there's one more thing, a vacancy tax. Municipalities cannot create taxes. That's in the Municipal Act. And and they don't have that authority on private property. And a real funny thing about municipalities, and I mean real funny, is it applies to here's a thing that you will see in the Municipal Act called a body corporate. And the funny thing is, even in Black's Law Dictionary, it even states that it says right here, usage in property law. So in context, like sectional titles, strata schemes, it refers to legal entity formed by all unit owners to manage common property. So what common property do they manage? They manage sidewalks, any public property. That's common property. So it's again not private property. So but in the body corporate, they're saying that all of us inhabitants, we're all incorporated by the municipality under its corporation. And, that's with or without your consent. It don't matter. And this is where I think there might find a little bit of a problem there. And they say that you'll always see that bylaws don't apply to the municipality or its people there. And you'll see when they define a body corporate, they say it's defined simply as a corporation. It is an artificial person or legal entity created by law, consisting of a group of persons authorized to act as a single unit, separate and distinct from the individuals who compose it. And then they go in and say that it doesn't apply to the mayor, council of the corporation. They're separate from that yet again. See, and that entity continues even when its members or owners change. And of course, that's from from our elections that we have to elect them. So this is where things go crazy.
Again, is this an Ontario thing or is this across the country?
This is straight up Ontario. I don't know about Alberta or any BC or Winnipeg or anything else. I don't know anything in those areas. All the different provinces we have all have a separate type of or form of municipal act. And the other crazy thing is, so this is where we're getting, now they're doing vacancy tax. They can't do that, but I'm shocked as shit that none of these big rental housing places and stuff, none of them have challenged it. I don't believe it, because it's private property. They, and I'm going to bring up the dog license, the dog tag license that we challenged. And we told them, show us in the municipal act where you can charge a license on private property, where the municipal act gives you that authority. And they simply wouldn't give it, because there is none, nowhere in the municipal act that gives them that authority. And so then they ended up turning around and they just waited and ignored the judge's order, and waited until time period passed and the 11B came along. That way it wouldn't set a precedent. And but what it did do is it got rid of the dog license in that municipality, and then the municipalities surrounding it also got rid of the bylaw for dog tags. So it still had an impact, and I'm pretty sure they got held accountable in the courts afterwards. So that's stuff that people don't know. And Ed, there's even worse going on now. And I'm really shocked that these owners of these properties, these rental properties, aren't taking them to court. And this is what happens. They don't take them to court on one thing, and it's a slippery slope. Then they'll infringe further and further and further. And now they've evolved into they are interfering with the Residential Tenancies Act, the Ontario Residential Tenancies Act, because now they're saying if you're a landlord and somebody, you try to bring an N13 for a renovation, and you got to evict them for the renovation to be done, they're saying that you require a permit from the city each time there's an N13, an LTB application coming into play. Again, this is authorities they don't have, no jurisdiction on that whatsoever, no authority whatsoever. As a matter of fact, 14.1 of the Municipal Act clearly states that they cannot interfere, frustrate, or whatever a statute or legislation or an instrument of the Crown. And that's exactly what this does. It interferes with it. So there's your insanity, and the corporations never stop. Not the municipal ones anyways.
You know what? This reminds me of the time I was at Huff's Gym. There's a whole bunch of people inside. They're going to camp out because they were trying to close down Huff Gyms during the fake-demic. And there was, 5 or 6 bylaw officers. The bylaw officer, or maybe the corporate guy, supervisor was there. He had nice loaded Ford pickup. Very nice. And about a half dozen cops. And I started talking to the bylaw, saying, what are you guys here? I hope you're not here to try to close this business down. Nobody in there works for the municipality that I know of. You guys probably don't have jurisdiction, and bylaws only apply to employees of the city of Mississauga. And they're just looking down, and then it says, guys, you got phones, got smartphones, look it up. There's case precedent, there's court cases enforcing this. You guys haven't been trained properly, and you're going to be breaking the law by doing what the supervisor is asking you to do, because if it was lawful, he would be doing it. And then they looked up at him, and he didn't say anything. Anyways, there's an undercover cop there, and this is, who the hell are you? Says, I don't know, but you got a badge? He says, yeah. He says, well, can I see it? He says, no. He says, well, I don't answer questions after 5 p.m. It was like 7 o'clock at night. Maybe you want to try me tomorrow. Oh, he got pissed off. I says, what are you going to do about it? All he says to me is, I don't answer questions after 5 either. Anyways, after about an hour of this shit, they all, put the tail between their legs and buggered off. The cops took off, with the exception of one police car. And I was standing outside all alone. I don't know. Was it something I said?
You
They
scared
didn't
them
want to
away,
talk
eh?
to me.
Nah. You should have just told them that there's an investigation, and when they ask you what investigation, just say you can't say it. It's an ongoing investigation.
It's a fucking joke, man. But the problem is, the way I see it, I don't know, Mike, if you want to chime in on this, people don't know what they don't know.
Well, we could fill a book of what you don't know, right? There's a lot of what we don't know. But I do want to make something real clear for you guys. I want to make it clear that the vacant home tax, in my perspective, is a big relief for the Canadian proper. And I'll tell you why. Because there's no Canadian proper in Canada that has 2, 3, 4 properties that are left empty. The vacant home tax was brought in 2016 into Vancouver because we were sitting on approximately, hold on, if I remember right, let me just think. We were sitting on approximately like 603,000 empty properties in the Vancouver Lower Mainland area that were owned by foreign investors that bought 10, 15, 20 units and left them all empty. And they would launder this money through the Vancouver model, right? And this is something I've been on for years. Now, I have all my videos with timestamps going back to 2012, filming the empty streets of Vancouver, entire empty boulevards, where instead of you don't see kids playing on the streets on a Saturday afternoon, 25 degrees outside, you don't see no kids, no barbecues, no families, nothing. Abandoned. All abandoned, all the side streets, and all the Chinese New Year decorations from all different years on the door. Different year, the cow, moo, this, snake, ass, whatever, all abandoned. So when they put on the foreign buyers tax in Vancouver, it cost you guys a problem out east, and it cost people a problem down in Seattle or Washington State. The second they put those foreign buyers tax on, the Chinese investors ran to Toronto in a frenetic pace. I could bring up the article, and they went down to Seattle, King County, and destroyed both housing markets almost overnight.
Yeah.
So the average Canadian doesn't have 3 or 4 homes lying around vacant. Believe me, you don't.
Right, but again, in Canada, we have a right to own as much property as we want.
Right, but these people aren't Canadian. Right? These people aren't Canadian. They laundered their money through Canadian real estate and left it empty. And that's a big problem.
So I like the foreign tax, sure, absolutely, but vacant home tax, no.
But what do we do about the 3.9 million empty units we have right now?
Well, they're
not owned by Canadian people, so let's get that off the table.
And let's put it this way, and nobody could rent them even if they were up for rent either, because nobody can afford it. And why is that? That's not because of foreign investors. That's strictly because of government interfering where they shouldn't. You know, in Argentina, you know how they got rid of their housing crisis overnight, might I add. They got rid of it by removing government to do with anything about renting, because renting should be between a renter and the owner.
Right, I'm talking about home ownership, and that's why that's why when you drive to any Canadian city across Canada, you look outside the bank, there's a bunch of homeless Canadian people outside. You walk inside the bank, and it's all Chinese people working there.
That's right.
I have a problem with that. I have a big problem with that, because the European expansion builds the bank, puts the sewers, puts the fiber optic, the electricity, and then so we could bring in Chinese people to go work at the bank. It makes no sense. And outside the bank is all homeless Canadians, and that pisses me off.
Yeah, but Mike, hang on. There's 300 Chinese that built the entire Canadian railway.
840.
840 Chinese work for the railway companies to build it.
When they were doing the explosives and the tracking out here through the mountains, 840 to 1,000 through some of the history books I went through.
But didn't thousands of them die in the explosions when they were blowing up with the dynamite stuff?
They told us a few years ago that if you don't take this vaccine, you're going to be dead. So just relax. And one thing you guys could rest assured of, and I'm not here to pull any strings on anybody or pull any start anything with anyone. I'll tell you straight up, where I reference my stuff from, I collect, and if you see some of my videos, I show them. I have a history book collection, and a lot of my history books were published pre-1830, pre-1730. I have history books published in Latin, where China doesn't even exist. It's called the Queen Jun Kong whatever Empire. They don't even have names like that, like the names we use today for our countries. I go and I re-reference what these history books were trying to tell us then 100 years or 200 or 300 years ago to what they're telling us today. Because everything they're telling us today is a big bullshit. One thing I know is 43 million European expansion came to Canada since 1903 registered. 1903 registered Europeans is 43 million that came over to build these highways. Everything you see around you was built by European expansion. If the Indians, the Chinese, and the Hindus came first, there wouldn't be any highways or anything to be on. There wouldn't be any existence. So, and the thing is, the European expansion is being shown the door. I'm a Portuguese citizen. I'm a Portuguese living in Canada, right? So I'm just telling you guys, like, it's so sickening to go to any city in this country, a village with 2 stoplights, and you look outside and there's Canadian homeless people everywhere. You walk inside the government institutions, there's not a single Canadian working there. It pisses me off.
Sure, but again, on the other foot here, and don't get me wrong, I agree with you on the history and the books and everything. I already know that long time ago. But why is housing so unaffordable? Again, I'm not going to say it's because of foreign people coming and buying up.
It was foreign people that come in and buying. It's already spilling out.
But you also got government again with all this fucking taxes, these capital gains bullshit.
Yeah, forget all that.
What's the other thing they're doing? They're saying what, the home equity tax?
Okay, the governments are going broke. Governments are going broke. Do you know why?
They are. Absolutely.
Governments are going broke because
but all of this, it's not. What the point I'm making is, it's not just one thing. It's a combination of things. It's a whole whackload of stuff. And then we're getting all this other shit coming in. All the illegals, everything else. They're putting them all up. Everything's going up like fucking crazy. Nobody's gonna. And Canadians, they just shit on us and say, fuck, you go on the street, fuck off.
Well, here's the problem. The money laundering from China is actually the biggest problem we have in Canada. Along with the money laundering came, that's another article. Anyways, so along with the money laundering, you know what came? The fentanyl. And fentanyl only comes from China. It does not come from the United States. It comes from China directly through our western seaboard here, and it gets pushed through pill form through Canada. And we were reporting back in 2016 about the factory in Benito Juarez, south of Juarez, that was owned by a Chinese-owned factory in Benito Juarez, where they were bringing the chemicals over and pressing pills of fentanyl and bringing it through the southern U.S. border. 95% of the problem we have in Canada for our real estate is the Chinese money laundering. 2.4 to 2.6 trillion dollars, 3.9 million empty homes since 2010. We're smoked. Bidding wars, artificial shortages, homeowners wealthy on paper overnight. And you know what? It's horrendous what's happening. We are beyond. And now governments are going broke. Do you know why, Stefano? You know this. It's because of the land transfer taxes. No one's buying anything anymore. No, the Chinese, they don't want to pay property tax. They do whatever they can to pay property tax. We were reporting back in 2017, Chinese homeowners that calculate $0 on their income were receiving welfare checks. And they're $1 million average homes.
Absolutely. And I'm agreeing with you on everything. Don't think I'm not. I'm just saying it's a combination of things. It's not one single thing, but the main thing, yes, but then you got everything else that just adds to it, and it combines it all. But you're right. You're absolutely right. 100%.
Stefano, if the average Canadian, born, raised, and educated, and works full time, cannot get into his own real estate market, we don't have an economy. I'm sorry. There's no economy.
No, you're absolutely right. And the economy is being destroyed purposely by our own government. And here, actually, you said something that hurt my interest big time, because nobody has said it before. I haven't heard it said by anyone. I brought it up here on the show, I don't know, what, 4 years ago? Somewhere's around there. And that was the artificial shortages. Now, if you recall, I'm not sure if you do, but when we had Kevin and everything and we were doing the show, I brought up from the WEF and I screenshot because now they're hiding it. You can't see it, but you have to be a member in order to get in to view it. But they had all the different companies listed that are involved in the shortages artificially, from aluminum manufacturers, they have metal manufacturers, they have the shipping through the shipping lines, the ships, the trains, everything. Remember all those transports that were sitting at the docks and all those ships were all out there and they're not being unloaded? Why is that? Well, that's an artificial fucking shortage being created right there, purposely being done. This is why we had shortages in the fucking stores with the food during the COVID bullshit. This is why we had all that crap. It wasn't a supply problem. The supply was always there. They just wouldn't fucking deliver it, and they would hold it back from everyone. But people don't know that. I'm going to see if I can find that stuff that I had posted before. I'm going to see if I can dig it up. I'll post it up maybe next week or something.
Yeah, I remember that. We were counting how many ships were out at sea waiting to come to port. And the dock workers just weren't showing up. And trucks were lined up for miles and miles and miles, but just sitting there waiting for the ships to come into port. That was COVID.
None of the crane operators were going, nothing. They were all the cranes were all shut off. Nobody was even there. We just left all the truckers sitting there idling, all the ships just sitting in the water.
Yeah. Anyways, Mike, what do you got for us? Canadians are leaving in record numbers. Most are prime-aged workers.
Well, let me get into this with you guys. This is kind of important because we need to make ourselves really clear on the Canadians that are leaving Canada. The Canadians that are leaving Canada are European expansion and or Canadian that married some Portuguese woman, or a Canadian that married a Spanish woman from Spain or Russia. The people that are leaving are not, I think it's not 94%. And I made a video a few weeks back. 94% of the people that are leaving Canada are of Caucasian European expansion. 94%. The other 6% are from like Argentina and or Guatemala or Colombia or whatever, or Mexico, but the majority is Caucasian European expansion. Canadians are now leaving Canada, and they would see prime age workers. That's the generation when my dad came to build Canada from Portugal. When that's that generation of the kids that were promised. My dad working on a bank in downtown Toronto, saying maybe one day my son will get this job working in this bank. Bullshit. That's for foreigners to come in and get those jobs. It's not for the people that built the building. It's not for their kids. So anyways, so those kids, this the 31 to 45-year-old generation, they're just leaving. They're selling what they got or what their parents left them. And they're heading back either to Europe. The number one return destination is one is England, Scotland, Ireland are the two big, and Australia too, which is really weird. Because you don't see a lot of these people here around in Canada anymore, but they're going back fast. Portuguese are going back, Italian, Greek, everyone's going back. Everyone's leaving.
I don't think Australians are going back to Australia because Australia is as bad as it is here, if not worse. For population replacement, for housing costs, for inflation.
They also got a lot of, they got $1.8 trillion laundered through Australia since 2010 in their housing markets too. And Australia is sitting, they're saying that Australians are sitting on 1.8 million empty units too, creating artificial shortages with bidding wars, right?
Yeah, so they're in the same boat as we are.
So
their laws are becoming more draconian than ours when it comes to freedom of speech and shit like that.
Yeah, they just passed a bill yesterday about guns and putting people in prison for speaking out.
They actually, you're right again there, Mike. I know tons of people who've left, and actually my cousin just left too, relocating back to Greece. He's not going to stick around here. I'm going to relocate too. I'm not going to stick around. What the hell for? Just to let the government rape me of my wealth? No, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're gonna force our kids to go fight wars. They're bullshit wars too. The bullshit wars they started, right?
And
So
where are you going? You're going to the Philippines in a couple of years, eh?
Probably. I got Philippines set up, and I got some shit going down in Portugal too. So I'm not too worried. And if I really want to lay low, I could go to the Azores, and that's way out of the way. Nobody even cares. No one even could find it on the map. So
yeah, until your plane runs out of gas, then you find it real quick, don't you?
Well, there's a good point here in about Australia being sorry, not that one. Yeah, the UK is they started with I think they were the first ones to jump on those shipping container stack and pack shanty towns that the ghettos they were making, and sorry there, Ed. And then they're talking about being super expensive in Australia. Absolutely. I think about 10, 15 years ago, I think a pack of smokes in Australia was going for $50. I don't know.
Yeah, it's about $55, and New Zealand is about $60 New Zealand dollars. But the deal is that this whole I put up a video today, a short, about how I believe, Stefano, I truly believe, Eduardo, that the housing affordability crisis that we had in all these English-speaking countries with all this money laundering from China was purposefully done as a contraceptive so people can't start families.
You're probably right there, Mike. All these agendas that they got going on, it wouldn't pass me. And I'm not speaking conspiracy theorist bullshit. It's all actually on their websites. If you go check it out online, which people never do, that's why they have it there. But yeah, I believe you.
If most people, especially a real man, if he can't set himself up in a house or a place to raise a family, they won't have a family, right? And I think this was a major form of contraceptive that was used against the European or the white or whoever built the country in the first place. They don't want us in this country. They want us to go fight wars. They want us to go fix the leak when it breaks, because the Chinaman or the Indian have no idea how to fix a water main leak. They have no idea because they never built it.
They don't even have fucking plumbing, man. They live in dirt fucking, whatever.
So here's a chart of the outflows here, guys, on the screen. So it's soaring, right? This is back in right here. If you go back to 2017, that's 2016, 2017, boys, is the year where Canada, the average home, I'm not talking about mansion, average home passed $1 million. So there it is right there, folks. The average. And when I say average home, you could buy the same house in Florida for 40 grand because it's completely cracked foundation, unlivable, burnt to the ground for $2-3 million. But that's the year, that's the average home that you could buy for 40 grand or 60 grand. What went for $1 million, Stefano. And look how many people left. Look. See?
That's a lot, yeah. And then you know what? Even Argentina, I've been looking at houses, shopping around there, and I found one. It's like 600, and you're not going to pay the top price, but that's what they're asking. This house is 4,000 square foot. It's only 10 years old, and it's got about 25 acres. So you look at a property and a house that big in Canada, you're in the millions. It's just so crazy.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have heard what's going on in Toronto Dominion Bank.
Yeah, this already happened before. They're doing a forensic audit, and they laundered. I don't know. I don't want to say any numbers here because I don't want to get a lawsuit, but it's in the high billions. We're talking probably like $440 billion. That's just one bank, though, Eduardo. We were covering all this years ago. They were back in 2015, 2016. This thing was a complete laundromat. And I think you need to take a look at the screen. Canadian household debt hits record $3.2 trillion, but growth is mostly interest. So anything that's growing economically is the interest you're paying on the money you owe.
And your wages aren't going up that much, but the price of food, gas is actually lower here in Ontario for the last year, I'd say. But everything else is going up.
I wouldn't say it's lower. It's what it finally dropped. What was it? A couple of months ago. That's when it really started dropping. You started
Yeah,
seeing.
but then they raised taxes on other
Yeah,
freight.
of course, of course. Diesel takes the big hit when gas is low, and it goes vice versa too. When diesel's low, gas is high. So they never lose. They're always gaining, always, and yeah, as Mike said, they'll nail you on some other bullshit somewhere else.
Here, look at the graph, guys. Canadian household debt hits new record. We're approaching $3.5 trillion. That's bigger than our GDP.
There you go. There you go, Ed. It's going right up. There's a new gas tax coming in. So remember, they always like to give you the illusion that they're doing something nice for you and giving you a break, and then you're going to bend over and you're going to say, Big Daddy government, stick it in just a little deeper for me.
You know what half this debt is for? Food. In 2015, when I was living in Vancouver, 2016 in Vancouver, everybody was buying food on their lines of credit on their houses because they were house broke. Everything they made went to their $800,000 2-bedroom condo in Vancouver. Everything they made went to just to service the mortgage, and they were using their line of credit that they got with the house. So when the house goes up in value, they just keep using that HELOC debt. And that's why HELOC debts right now among G7 nations, Canada ranks number 1 times 3 over and the last country below us because people are using their homes to eat as ATM machines to eat.
Yeah, what the hell, Hashem? Yeah, according to Trudeau, wasn't the budget supposed to be balancing itself there? Like, how did this happen? It's impossible.
Mark Carney was whispering in his ear, don't worry, the budget will balance itself.
And there's other news for people living in Africa. Africa becomes the sandbox for Bill Gates and OpenAI health experiments. So Bill Gates is moving overseas. He's leaving Florida alone. He's leaving, what was that, Nebraska and all the farming. He was whatever bullshit he was doing. He's moving off to Africa now to open experiment with all kinds of weird shit there in Africa where he could just pick up a compound, get a few guards to protect it, and run his bullshit experimental labs or whatever he's got planned. So just getting
they'll take him down there. You'll see. They'll take him down. They can have all the guards they want. I know quite a few people from South Africa that were there, and the farmers, and they are all in compounds, of course, with these amazingly huge dogs. I actually seen one. It was frightening, but they still get slaughtered. These guys. Remember what? Who was that? Was it Tedro? Is that the guy they want to do in Africa because he jabbed up all those kids and fucking killed them all?
But he was a wanted war criminal too.
Yeah, but they want his ass there. He's never gonna show up there ever again. And look at Gates. He'll go there. You'll see the shit. He'll stir up. These countries aren't like Canada and the U.S. where they're not gonna touch him. This is serious shit that they get themselves into there. They'll do them in.
Just like Lula in Brazil, nobody voted for the guy, but a lot of Chinese interests help make sure he won so he could go back on the BRICS nations because Bolsonaro, the guy that the Donald Trump of Brazil, was pro-America, pro-US dollar, pro-everything, and China did not want that. So they got a guy that no one voted for, and the guy that they chose, Lula, is a charged and did prison time in jail. He's a convicted felon.
Yeah, what the hell was I just going to say? There was a good point I was going to bring up, but okay, go with it. I forgot. Shit, sorry.
He was communist also, eh?
Who?
Lula.
Of course he is. But China rigged that election down there because nobody voted. We did a hard census on Mike in the Night when that Lula guy won. We couldn't find a single human being in Brazil in 14 different cities that we were scouring with hard census. We couldn't find no one that voted for the guy. So that's why your vote is a secret. That's why your vote. And we told Brazilians 4 months before they went to the polls that the election was going to be fixed and Lula was going to win and Bolsonaro was going to go to jail. And that's exactly what happened.
Bolsonaro's not actually in jail, is he?
pretty much house arrest. They've done so much to that guy. You have no idea. You have no idea.
Mike, you can predict this stuff, but that's because you're all into all of this stuff. I'm into all of this stuff. Ed's into a lot of this stuff too. So, to us, it's very clear. It's very predictable. You can see it, but the average person is not, and that's where they blindside, because it's really, if you think about it, it's a small population that really doesn't pay attention or doesn't want to pay attention or can't connect those dots simply because they don't know. Everything's so fucked up. Everyone's scrambling everywhere. We can see this shit. They can't, and that's exactly what they want.
But here's the thing: Canada used to be a high trust society. It still is to a point, because some people still believe what they hear on the radio. They still believe what's on the
News,
TV, and they don't look at other sources. And then you got teachers telling kids, "Gotta stay off the deep web or dark web. You gotta question anything you hear on the internet." They don't tell you to think about what you're hearing. They say question everything you're hearing.
No, Ed, they say don't question, especially authority. And this is where the brainwashing comes in there. And this is why there's such a compliant population. And especially these younger generations, this is why you see them all with Antifa, all going for communism, because they've been taught in school that communism's great, communism's equality, communism is, the fucking sliced bread, which is really socialism. It's communism. It's just reinvented a little bit. But it's still the same fucking result, the same shit. And these kids are just, fucking dumb. This is part of the reason why the agendas are to dumb down the population. And this is so they have compliant sheep.
Mike, next.
Okay, the UN is using Africa as a testing ground for controversial digital ID systems. So what they're going to do, this is what I believe they're going to do. They're going to starve the people out through a digital ID. And if you want to eat, you're going to have to use that digital ID. You're going to have to use that digital token. You want to eat, you follow the mandates. You don't want to eat, we're not printing money. That's how it works, digital. And they're going to force people through starvation for a digital ID. That's what I believe is going to happen in Africa. It doesn't say it in the article, but that's what I believe.
Didn't they try this in Zimbabwe and
Yes.
they rejected it?
Yeah, but they had billions and billions of funny money there that we're using as toilet paper. So they just use that for food, right? So either way, right?
Well, it kind of reminds me of 1931, 32. Germany used to take a wheelbarrow of the old Deutschmarks or the original marks to buy a loaf of bread. And if you had to stand in a line, chances are by the time you got to the front of the line, because of inflation, you didn't have enough money in that wheelbarrow to buy that loaf of bread.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Ed, and it also reminds me of Cuba, because Cuba, the money was completely worthless. They were just taking it. They were sewing purses out of it. They were making fashion dresses and stupid shit out of the money. It was worthless. It was garbage.
What's funny is I was in Cuba maybe 10 years ago last time, and I went into one of those common stores, and all you could really buy is some beans, some rice, a few staples, cooking oil, like the real basics. And for that, you had to use a Cuban proper peso.
Yeah.
And if you want anything under the counter, you have to pay with the tourist peso, the convertible peso. Even though Cubans weren't supposed to have that. It's only supposed to be the tourists that had that one.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. All right, so let's move on here. Ukraine, Russia.
Yeah, Mike, just one more thing before you jump in here. Like you were talking about there, it's controlling the food, the water, and the land, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is why you see these guys buying up big properties. And this is what I'm saying here. And you're getting communist China. You're pointing out the fact that it's Chinese that are doing it. What's going to happen? And people, it's going to be unaffordable. Did you know that in Ontario, the Ministry of Natural Resources, all lands are patented. We only about 8.7% is owned private in Canada. and the rest is all government owned. It's all the crown owns it. But what the Ministry of Natural Resources is doing is they're trying to strip people's lands, and when they get possession of people's lands, they are de-patenting them and returning them back to the government. So they want 100% control. You know what that's going to go to. Anyways, that's all I wanted to say.
Okay, so Ukraine, Russia, and U.S. to meet for the first trilateral talks to end war. Again, we told you guys at the beginning of this war, the day it kicked off, first we predicted it was going to happen, definitely. But we also told you guys that don't take sides. Don't take sides. Because Ukraine's been poking the Russian bear for years, and I'm not pro-Russia. Oh, you're pro-Russian, Mike. No, I'm not. Russia armed Cuba to invade Portuguese Africa and Angola. So I'm not pro-Russian. Believe me, I'm not. But this piece of crap right here, this guy right here is the front actor to keep this proxy war going for testing, weapons testing, drone testing, and murdering of everyone in the middle. All the innocent people and families that have disrupted their lives. Nobody, even before this war even kicked off, Ukrainians or militia Ukrainians were going around blowing up buildings, setting things on fire, and trying to provoke a war with Russia, saying that Russia did this in Russia, and it wasn't Russia.
That was 2014, back then, right after Zelensky got elected, right?
Selected.
And then when Russia rolled in now at the beginning of this bullshit, you seen the town that it was that he rolled in. All the citizens were there cheering on all the tanks when they rolled in. They want them. They want this guy gone. He's the fucking Nazi Fourth Reich. Anyways, that's what the Azov is. And you know, nobody wants him there. They're kidnapping their people off the street, forcing them to go fight in the front, or they'll shoot them right fucking there.
And I thought I'd bring this article up because now this war is fizzling out. The whole blah, 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 blah. Venezuela thing we predicted. The whole thing a year before a shot was fired, we told you. And then it's almost weird with the whole Venezuela thing. I believe that if the guy Guaido that didn't run for president, that never ran, actually became president of Venezuela, I think they would have did a whole Ukraine scenario down in Venezuela back then. It's a long story. Picture this, Stefano. You get a knock on your door, and the CIA tells you, you won the election in Venezuela. But you look at yourself and you look at the people around you and you say, I wasn't on the pollsters. I never wasn't on the ballots. I never ran. But America went to some guy's door, a 32-degree Freemason, and told them, hey, Guaido, you won the Venezuelan election. And then now America goes and attacks and whatever, all this stuff because Maduro stole an election. But the guy that he stole it from the first election, never ran in the election. And the second person he stole the election from now is a WEF puppet that's sitting there.
So who do you think they're going to put into position now?
Well, they're going to put that lady. That lady is going to go into power right now, and she's a WEF. Yeah. She was chosen by the WEF, right?
Yeah, she's already been put into play there, Ed. She was the vice or the second in command. The deputy president, whatever the fuck they got over there. But yeah, I was watching those elections when Maduro declared himself the leader there, and he disqualified the other guy. So how that went, I don't know, but I knew the people
I'll tell you what
were upset.
The first election they claimed that he stole, I'll explain to you what happened. It was Falcon against Maduro. Both of them were anti-American. So America didn't have a dog in the fight. So they knocked on Guaido's door and says, you won the election. And he's like, well, I never ran. Well, yes, you did. And they invited him to the White House as the sitting president of Venezuela that never ran. So how did he steal the election? Like, I don't understand. The guy never ran. So they disqualified the guy that didn't run, Stefano.
Well, and this is just it. And this is what started all these riots and everything down there was when Maduro declared himself the winner. Whether the other guy ran or not, I don't know, but the people believed he ran. And he
wasn't on the polls. He wasn't on the ballot.
Right.
There was 32 countries observing that. There was 32 countries observing that election, from Poland, Switzerland, Germany, France. There was it was one of the cleanest barometric elections in the history of South America.
I think the people didn't give a shit because they do not like Maduro at all. And then the riots came. Then they stormed their parliament. They done all sorts of shit. Then Maduro started sending his hit squads out. They were offing people, dumping them in the streets. They were taking note of who they could identify. So the people didn't want Maduro regardless. So even if the election was rigged, I think that the people had become so desperate that they didn't care that this was, maybe somebody was thrown in there, not even on there, whatever. They didn't care, and they still don't care. They're cheering. They were out in the fucking millions out in the freaking streets.
Be careful what you see, because I have my friend Hector called me from Venezuela, and a lot of people are pissed off about this. A lot of people living in Venezuela weren't having a lot of problems that we're seeing here. Again, listen, you take the vaccine, you're 99% going to be safe. Then 3 months later, you take the vaccine, 75% of you are safe. You take the vaccine, it's going to cover 50%. You take the vaccine, well, it doesn't work anymore. Remember that? Well, the same thing with Venezuela is happening. I have friends, they were having pro-Maduro rallies after he was taken. Hundreds of thousands of people on the streets. I'm not taking sides here. I don't give a shit about these guys.
I'm not taking sides either, just so we're clear there.
Is they had pro Nicolas Maduro rallies to bring him back and free him and his family. And it wasn't 500 people. It was close to 100,000 with Venezuela flags and his picture. So that's the problem. Like, you have to, just like us with the whole, remember COVID, just because like us with the COVID, okay? We know this was bullshit because we're seeing it here. We know the hospitals aren't overwhelmed because we see it here. But we're not seeing what's really going on, and they want to paint that picture in your head. That's why in the town I live in, everybody hates Americans. Everybody's anti-American.
When I was in Greece, everybody hates Americans. They always would say over and over, if you're gonna fly any flags or wear any flags on your clothing, it's Canadian flag, because they like Canadians at that point. They hated Americans, always have, because of World War II, where America. And not only World War II, but after World War II, where they constantly tried to get Greece and Turkey into a war. So this is going back years and years and years. So of course, and then eventually they kicked the Americans out of Greece altogether because they ended up taking over basically the whole country, putting bases on there. So they kicked all their military bases out, right?
But Venezuela was one of the richest countries in the 1920s and 30s until America went there to dictate policy. And that's when everything fell apart. See, if Venezuela's number one export was fava beans, Venezuela wouldn't even care what the heck happened down in that country if it was fava beans. Because it's oil, that's the problem. And
sure, that's their foot in the door too. If they're hearing the cry of the people, they're going to go in. What he done exactly, pull them out. And then what did he say? He's going to control the oil. He's going to make sure that the money from the oil gets to the people and it's spent for the people where it should go. But what did he say? I think it was 3 days later to a week later. Then he said, I'm taking the oil. We're going to keep the oil. We're going to sell the oil. We're going to make so much of it. It comes to us and the rest goes back. That's what he's saying. This is, again, we know what the real story is going to be.
But careful, because there's a lot of AI manipulation with videos. They already caught 3 videos of the soft speeches that he did that weren't real. And that whole
no, I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about that.
What about the sun, whatever cartel, sun cartel or whatever that is? That whole sun cartel?
Suneo,
that cartel down in Venezuela that apparently it never existed. There's no cartel for drugs. There's cartels for drugs, but they're not government ran or sanctioned. That was all bullshit.
No, of course they're not going to be government. Well, unless it's the CIA,
right? Or like Manuel Noriega, right? Remember Manuel Noriega?
I absolutely do, absolutely.
Yes. So it's all bait and switch tactics that they're doing, right? And you know this.
Of course, that's all a part of the propaganda. It's in everything, man. In every single war, there's propaganda. Now, it's gotten so easy with AI. You'd be surprised how many people send me AI fucking shit a day. I don't even watch. If people send me videos, I don't even watch them. So tip people, don't send me videos because I ain't gonna watch them. I always do my own research and everything, and I don't watch anybody else except for Mike. But
Well,
other
hang on. I sent you a video on how to open up a champagne bottle. You didn't watch that?
that I watched because it was, it's different. It was AI
Educational?
too, by the way.
So, guys, this video, I made a video right here. I'm not trying to self-promote myself on your show, but I want you guys to understand. I made a video here, step by step, what will happen with Venezuela and U.S. war, 2025 to 2026 oil tanker seizures. So I did a 7-step scenario on how they're going to go in and grab Maduro. This is before a single shot was fired, before a single drug boat was shot up. And oil tanker seizures. You know how many people Stefano told me I was mentally retarded? It's an act of war. You can't seize oil tankers. And I said they're going to seize the oil tankers.
I heard it too.
So also right here, Venezuela is the next war. China, USA, this is where the next proxy war must take place. And I made this video last spring. Do you know why I made this video, Stefano? Because I know that Venezuela owes China close to $940 billion. And I know the U.S. wants into Venezuela. So the only war back then, last spring, that made any sense was Venezuela's the next war, China versus the U.S. This is where the next war must take place. Before a single shot was before even anyone ever discussed it. So I just wanted to bring that up to you guys so you guys know I'm just not making up stuff here as I go. But anyways.
Let me bring you up one more thing just to add on a little bit on that.
Okay, go.
And what's the agenda of the UN shit, all right? The agenda 2020 and 2030, 21 and all that shit. What they say is all wars are over resources. So this way, if nobody owns resources, then there won't be any wars because everybody owns all the resources. This is what you're seeing, us getting raped by China continually with our shit.
Mm-hmm.
And this is on every level. So, of course, China's going to want it. But then you see, why is it suddenly the U.S. says, we're backing the fuck out of the UN. They're backing out. Why is that? Because they want the fucking resources. This is why Trump told them that they're done with that shit. It's not going to happen, right? Mm-hmm. So there you go. And I'm not saying that the UN is proper because it's not proper. What they're trying to get their fucking greedy little hands on, and they don't have anything to do with anything. And this is why you're seeing the fucking the flooding of different. Letting all the illegals in and everything, because their fucking answer to the cure to racism is that if everybody gets mixed with everybody, then nobody is of a pure race. Everybody's a mixed race. And then we've just got rid of racism because nobody is going to be attacking each other. But what they don't tell you is when you get Latinos, blacks, they hate each other. Chinese with blacks, they love that. So you're going to have racism no matter what, because if you don't have a pure race of any type, black, white, red, whatever the hell you want, if you don't have and then they start mixing with whoever they're mixing, then they're going to start picking up that this combination is better than that one. And that's where they fail, because that's just fucking human nature, period.
All right. Okay, hear me out, SA. Let's move on to TSA here. TSA is proposing My TSA PreCheck. They proposed this last year, and they proposed this back in 2023. My TSA PreCheck digital ID integrating biometrics and federal database. So they're gonna end up landing this regardless. Like if you want to fly, then you got to go through. You have to comply. So they're gonna find ways to sneak this in, Stefano. You know that. I don't want this. I'm not for this. These people are losers.
They're already doing it, Mike.
Yep, they're already doing it. When you get to the airport, they scan your face.
We've seen it also in Alberta. They came up with the fucking digital wallet. What do? They said, oh, now your health card is going to be on your cell phone. This is You would be surprised on how many of these dead set Albertan freaking freedom people and they're all against digital ID. But when this came up, you would be surprised how many were for it. And what did they say? It sure beats carrying around a little piece of paper that can get ruined. What? What? It's the precursor to what's coming. This is what they're doing. My God.
So they're going to get us one way or another. Like if you want to fly, well, you got to comply, right? So that sounds pretty cool. We should make a song. You want to fly, you got to comply, right? All right, let's move on. Democrats claim ICE final order home arrests violates Constitution. No, it does not, and I'll tell you why. You see, I'm not scared of the police. Do you know why, Stefano?
No, because they're pretty stupid.
No, because I'm not a criminal. So if you're an illegal in a country and you know you're illegal, well, you better fear the Iceman, because you illegally entered a country. You illegally, whether you're a foreign criminal or background criminal, whatever the hell you did, you are illegal. Period.
Yep.
That's
and
how it works.
Black Panthers backed up away from that. They said we're not getting involved because they don't even want them there.
Yep.
So who's the freaking racist now? You know, are they're saying that he's racist. Trump, I'm talking about now, all of this shit and all this crap. But no, nobody wants them. Nobody wants fucking illegals, and it's all for the same thing: crime shooting through the fucking roof. Period. They're dumping their garbage in everyone else's countries.
Yep. And it's time for a cleanup, right? It's time to move ahead and clean this shit up, because even in my town or my province or wherever, if there's illegals, get them out. What are they doing here? You know what I'm saying? So that's, I just wanted to put that for you guys there. And I'm going to bring up Eduardo's friend. I'm going to wait till Eduardo's ready. I got his attention here till we get Eduardo here. Eduardo, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you watching the screen?
Yeah.
Here's your friend. Oops. Carney continues war of the words with Donald Trump after Davos clash. I made a short about this morning. I'm going to make this real clear and real quick in a heartbeat. Here goes, folks. Canada only exists because of America. And because of the American Constitution and the right to bear arms, we haven't gone dark here. Once America gives up their Second Amendment, even their first, we're finished here in Canada. 71% of our exports goes to the United States of America. Our dollar is tied to the U.S. reserve currency. Everything is tied to America. Do you understand? Mexico is tied to the hip with America. Mexico only exists because of the United States of America. And I'm not trying to say this because I'm trying to be anti-Canadian or whatever. No, that's the truth. That's the truth of the matter. The biggest markets in the world opens in our time zones, right? New York opens with you guys, right? Everything revolves around that time zone. Everything revolves around New York. The further away you get from New York back in the old days, the poorer you got. That's just how it was. And again, 71% of Canadian exports hit American soil. Go ahead, Stefano. I'm going to grab a drink.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right yet again. So, and the other thing is Canada really doesn't need to export because we have almost import, not export. And we can just make, exports like crazy. That's not a problem at all. We, like our economy, why Canada's being decimated so badly by our governments on every level, municipal, federal, provincial, is they are actually trying to destroy our economy. This is why so many businesses have left. They've made everything so ridiculously expensive purposely, and they've chased businesses out of Canada. They're trying to destroy, and I've said this at the beginning of COVID, I've said it before COVID, they are trying to destroy the economy of Canada so they can build back better. That bullshit, all right? And they can't do it. It's extremely hard to do because we are such a large economy. We have so many resources. We barely need to import anything from anywhere. So when they chase everyone out, when they're doing what they're doing right now, they have to destroy us, and they can't. But they're doing it. They're managing. They're driving everything up. So what Mike is talking about is right there. I don't know if you got anything else you want to add to that, Ed, but
Well, the reason why the government gets away with it is because we tolerate this shit. We don't scream enough. We don't burn down government buildings enough. We don't shoot enough politicians. As Canadians, we tolerate this shit.
Telling anybody to say that disclaimer, we're not telling anyone to do that, but Canadians are very you don't see what goes on in Europe on what they do. Canadians don't do that. It's just not, it's unheard of.
Well, people don't do anything though.
That's what I
Not
said.
enough people
We
are
all do
protesting.
something, Eduardo. We all do something, okay?
That
I do my videos. Stefanos does his thing in his videos and protects people. Eduardo goes to protests and get his equipment stolen. We all play a part somehow, somewhere. We all do.
it's
Not enough.
It's different, Ed, because of the indoctrination system here, where the younger generations are just, they're too screwed up. It's the dumbing down process. That's
Okay.
the bottom line.
Let's put the whole youth or brainwashed youth aside for a second. What if I told you guys that the public sector is over 40, 50, maybe 60% in Canada, and for them to keep their 6-figure income or 5.5-figure income jobs, they're going to have to comply and not make noise if they want to keep them government jobs. Let's keep that in mind too, right? The young brainwashed.
This is why I keep saying anyone that works for the government in any way should not be allowed to vote. It's a conflict of interest.
And
I don't get to vote for who my boss is.
And they are also the useless eaters that the government likes to say we are the useless eaters. They are. How did Argentina get out of deficit just like that? One of the biggest thing Argentina done was cut government. Over half of the government was gone because that was so expensive. How many fucking ministers do we have here? How many of these stupid gender bullshit, a minister for, all this bullshit, that useless stuff that serves no purpose to anything but divide. That's the only purpose they serve. All those things need to be gone and just concentrate on the important stuff.
There you go. Canadians are too polite and friendly as a society. It's made us a doormat for every country to take advantage of. Well said.
Okay, and here's this more proof that these guys are all playing on the same team. Polyev calls Carney's Davos speech well-crafted, but says action must follow. They're all on the same team. These guys are all losers.
And he is a WEF puppet himself.
All of them are.
Everyone. And he is robbing you guys of fucking jobs because he wants to bring in more and even faster. And don't fucking take my word for it. And don't cry about it because you're a sheep voter. Go look at the fucking videos that he's done at his speeches where he's saying this, that they got to remove all the stops out of there so fucking they can bring them in quicker. He will bring in more than fucking Trudeau did. And here's the big slapper for that piece of shit. He says, if elected, he will strip us of our constitutional rights for 5 years right off the bat. And you're going to try to tell me that's not going to open the door for fucking abuses under the guise of safety. So he can put all these criminals behind bars so they can't get bail. They can't get a day in court. Can you imagine if they would have done that when the trucker convoy was going on in Ottawa? You seen how much these people were dragged through the mud in the courts like Pat King was and everybody else for how many fucking years? Could you imagine your constitutional rights being gone at that time? They still would be political prisoners at now. They wouldn't have been out on bail. They wouldn't have had a day in court. They wouldn't have had anything. If he was voted out after the 5 years of the suspension of your constitution, if somebody else didn't carry it on or if he wasn't reelected, then they would be getting a bail hearing. This is the bullshit. This is the bullshit you fucking conservatives have got to stop voting for these fucking idiots because they're not conservatives. They're communists. Every single fucking one of them are pushing communism. Open your eyes. Realize.
Well, if you look at guys like over in the States when they started a whole grassroots party. Do you remember the Tea Party? Okay. In 2011, 2012, they started the Tea Party. And the Tea Party basically was Ron Paul, like people like Jesse Ventura, people like that wanted to have a grassroots revolution type new government that's for the people, by the people. And what did Obama do? He just audited them all and through the IRS and put them in jail and wrongly accused them because they knew that if they went to the polls, that the Tea Party would have won hands down because Americans don't want to are just sick and tired of this garbage. So if you try to run a third party or a party in Canada, look at the Tea Party in America and see what happens. You have to be put in place to be able to be allowed to be in power, period. And if you're not put in place or you're not put there, they'll take you out.
Okay, so what do we do about it?
There's nothing we could do about Eduardo. I'm not saying to give up, whatever. We could just keep, creating awareness and waking people up. But what we could do about it is nothing. They're going to find ways to tax us to death, audit us, or put us in jail, or create fraudulent charges and put us in prison for. So they'll do whatever they have to do to get rid of us.
Well, that's the definition of tyranny, isn't it?
That's exactly. Tyranny is the government. When you break the law, you go to jail. But if the government breaks the same law, it's okay. Like if you need money to pay your phone bill and you make some money, you print some money at home to pay your phone bill, you go to jail. But the government needs to buy a phone company or a phone equipment for the country. They'll just print the money off and then give it to the seller. And just they do it like that. We can't do what the government does because we'd go to jail.
Hey, Ed, it's like that video you sent me. What if we treated the police the way they treat you? Same shit.
Yep. And you guys are wondering why the price of silver and gold is going sky high?
Well, there's no confidence in money anymore and no confidence in government.
Well, not only that, you can't print gold and silver.
Well, you can't print food either, Eduardo. What's happening is when a society becomes on the verge of collapse, number one, they lose confidence in government. Number two, once they lose confidence in government, you start to see a runoff on the monetary system where people start taking out their money and buying gold, silver, or whatever the hell they can get their hands on. And then step three, once the runoff comes to an end, then you see the banking collapse and everything start to follow through. Governments had to pull the trigger on a pandemic to shut it down. Like we said back in 2017 and 2018, they got to shut this down. They got to pull the trigger on a pandemic, and they did. Now, you know what they're looking at, Eduardo? You know what they were looking at a few days ago? Bank of England. Did you watch my video I put up 3 days ago?
No, you're putting up too many. I can't watch them all.
Extraterrestrial. Operation
shit? Yeah,
Bank of England.
Hold on. I don't know anything about this. They're gonna go with Blue Beam in a bank.
Okay, let me find the video. Let me go to my shorts right here.
Just explain a little, because
I'm going to show you the video. I'm going to show you the article, the headline. I'll show you the headline so I don't have to talk. All right, Silver Operation Blue Beam right here. Here's the beginning of it. Take a look at the article. That's the source. The Times reporting Bank of England must plan for financial crisis sparked by aliens. I'm not making this up, guys. I don't get paid to be here, so I'm not making this up. That's exactly what they're saying.
You think people are going to buy it? You think they're going to fall for it? Do you really think so?
It's the same thing when I made my video. They're going to pull the trigger on a pandemic to shut things down video. And you know how many people told me that people won't fall for it and it's only going to be temporary and then people will get back to life? No. They pulled the trigger on a pandemic. They shut down the Yellow Vest movement that was going on for 70 weeks in France. They shut down the Hong Kong protests. They shut the protests in Israel, not my prime minister. They shut down the protests in Mexico, Argentina, El Salvador and the protests in Chile that they were smashing up all the bus stations. So I might as well start going deeper here. How deep do you guys want to go tonight?
We're already well over an hour.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not. All right.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. I'm having so much fun. I love having Mike on.
Anyways, guys, everything we've talked about here tonight is for entertainment purposes.
Yeah.
Take from it what you will.
Not what I say, though. That's not entertainment purpose, all right? Maybe what they say, not me.
So if you go to my channel and type in pull the trigger, if I can spell the right, and you go down, look at this. Chinese bank wars will lead to hot repo market skyrockets. They need to pull the trigger on a pandemic 6 years ago. Hold on a sec. I want to get to my point here.
Going through the roof right now, eh?
What?
Repos are going through the roof right now on houses.
Oh, yeah. Hey, pay attention. Here it goes, guys. This is Mike in the Night 228. They will pull the trigger on a pandemic, worldwide riots, world burns. Watch this. Look at the world. Let me get to the point here. That's Mike in the Night.
What's the date on this?
Hold on a sec. Hold on. This was October 19th, 2019. So this is before they pulled the trigger on a pandemic. And that's me telling everyone they're going to pull the trigger on a pandemic. And look at this. Hong Kong. Look at this. Look at that. Hong Kong. Hong Kong. That's just Hong Kong. Hold on. Let me get to Chile. You won't believe it. Mexico. Let me fast forward here. That left, I think this is Ultimo Minuto. That's in Chile. Let's keep going. Watch. The whole world. Look, Lebanon was protesting. The whole world was protesting. No confidence in governments. All over the world. Skyrocketing vegetable price. Look at this. La Jornada. Look at this. This is in Argentina.
That would actually, they had a currency reset back then too, didn't they?
2019, probably.
Wow.
That's what socialism does to you, Ed. That's why they finally got rid of socialism.
Yellow vest movements. The whole world was in collapse. There was no, look at this. Everything was burning in 2019. They had to pull the trigger on a pandemic. They had to shut this shit down.
But they screwed things up so that things would get nasty enough that people would get out there and protest, though. That's the thing that pisses me off. It was done intentionally. This was all planned.
Hold on, Ed. Hold on. You know, even this is the fucked up thing about everything, all right? Love, hate, Trump, whatever. But you remember during the pandemic, all these freedom movement people were all at the fucking border in Niagara Falls screaming for Trump in the U.S. to come and save Canadians, come in, invade, and save Canada from all of this shit. And now those same people are suffering from extreme cases of TDS. So the government has well played, well thought. All of the shit that they take from social media, I don't think your data and everything that you post and stuff doesn't go to government. What do you think the fucking third-party people are in those agreements? They absolutely go to government. They've been data collecting, data mining on everybody in the fucking world since the day Facebook and everything else came out. This is how they predicted the protest in Ottawa before it happened, and they war gamed it and everything else. They know when you're going to hang a shit and wipe your ass before you go and hang a shit and wipe your ass. They know everything about human behavior and what the people are going to do and how everybody thinks, how friends are aligned, how people are aligned politically. You name it, they already fucking know it, and that's a big problem.
And as far as who they are, tiny hats.
The governments, man. It's the fucking governments. I'm not going to fucking go say tiny hat, little hat, big hat, white hat, yellow hat, all that fucking bullshit. It's all division yet again. Governments of the world fucking know what you're going to do before you fucking do it. And they push this shit out no matter what because they know how you're going to react. And they have a plan for a reaction. They war game everything. They fucking know Everything. Trust me on that. Trust me.
So what do we do about it?
Again, we could form a grassroots party, a whole new party, a whole 9 yards to, for the people, by the people, blah, blah, blah. But then we'll just be taken out, or we'll be arrested, or we'll be charged with some bullshit.
Or if none of that happened and you managed to get in the power over the years, it's a fucking reset and it all starts over. Maybe they'll bring it in a different angle now. They're going to have to adjust fucking this Agenda 21 shit and everything from the UN. That was hatched out in 46. And they have been adjusting to how society's been reacting. And they've had these plans and they have these giant think tanks and they're using all this mining. They know what words work with people to make them aggressive, what words don't, what words and actions will get people to comply, what doesn't. And they adjust their fucking plans as they go along. And it would just start over and go again, another 150 years until we're at the same point again. Who knows? Maybe that generation will revolt. Who knows? You never know. Maybe the planet will fucking blow up because of a big nuke war. You never know.
Bottom line, take care of your friends, take care of your family. Family's the most important. Be honest. And find time to smile and enjoy life.
Yeah.
That pisses them off the most, I'll bet you.
Mm-hmm. It does.
Yeah.
It does.
All right, guys. I'm going to call it a night. Mike, thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Mike. Always a pleasure. I love it when you're on.
Yeah, guys. Thanks for having me. Yeah, call me up. Call me up whenever, okay?
Yep. Later.
I have spoken.